was always the Jags.
It's always the Jags. It's always the Jags.
Always the Jags.
Welcome into Always the Jags, your number one podcast for everything Jacksonville, everything Jaguars, everything Duval. We just need a moment of silence. Because that was horrifying. That was disturbing. That was just inconceivable. Like, what happened to us in Houston? Like, there should be PSA trigger warnings for that game. It was humiliating. And I could only imagine how bad it was for the Jaguars fans in the stadium that went out there to Houston when representing their team. Because I know how bad it was for the Dallas Cowboys fans that were celebrating being up 17-0 in our stadium in 2022. And there's just so much on so many levels. We're up 29-10 against a hated rival. And again, I would argue in the Trevor Lawrence era, the Texans are more of a rival than the Titans or the Colts, because we've never been able to sweep the Texans in the Trevor Lawrence era. We started off the Trevor Lawrence era by getting beat 3 times in a row by Davis Mills, a third rounder, beat our number 1 overall pick. And it seemed like we were finally taking control of the division when we beat them 31-3 in 2022. And then somehow they get a new quarterback and they still sleep with us and split with us in 2023. In a year when we thought we could sweep everyone in our division because they all needed new quarterbacks and we had the best one. Now here we are 2 years later and Trevor can't outplay the Texans' backup quarterback. Trevor went from being the best quarterback in our division to the third in a span of 2 years. And when one of those quarterbacks goes down, he can't beat his backup. There's a whole lot of factors that go into this game, but Trevor was healthy. As long as he's on the field, he's supposed to be a game changer. And let's just break it down from the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because, I mean, as much as we want to lament this game and say how ugly it is and how ugly the loss was, there was good. I mean, we were up 29-10. So there had to be some good, right? Parker Washington was playing out of his mind with an incredible touchdown catch, an incredible punt return. And the thing that the thing that haunts me so much is, like, Trevor was making great throws. He made some great throws, but whenever he has a bad one or some bad ones, it's always the worst kind. You just never know what version of Trevor you're going to get. Jacoby Myers had a great catch, and that was a throw not a lot of cornerbacks can make. It reminded me of the throw that he made to Brian Thomas Jr. when we needed it against the Chiefs. And that was a throw on third down. That was a huge pickup. And that was kind of the thing that made me feel like, yeah, we're driving the knife into the belly of this Texans team. And we just couldn't finish. We just couldn't finish. And it felt like the Texans maybe had some life when they were able to make it. I can't remember if they made it 17-10 or because I think we scored with the punt return and the Texans hadn't scored yet. And they kicked a field goal, and then I think we punted or something, or maybe it was an interception, and they got another field goal. Something like that. They got a touchdown, and then something like that. But even at the half, when you have a chance to go up, all Trevor has to do is put the ball on Austin Trammell, but he throws it too far inside. And Derek Stingley makes a great interception, but one that didn't need to happen. Like, that one was completely on Trevor. That was ball placement. Because Austin Trammell had him beat on the crosser. You just put it a yard out the other way. But it's just like that accuracy is just not there, because it's either like if he puts it where the receiver is going to be, it'll be too far. But if he puts it where the receiver was, if they're running, then that's a pick, because the guy is, because there's someone covering him every time. I think the problem is like, I think the NFL, like, every year coverages and defenses get better, But the best quarterbacks also get better every year, reading coverages and making throws. And I feel like the game is getting too difficult for Trevor. I think it's the best way I can put it. I mean, all of that brilliance in 2022 feels like it's been washed away. And I don't know what he did at the back half of 2022 in that last, like, the second half of that Chargers game. You know, he was letting it rip, and then we came back. And I don't, like, the thing is, this loss is not Trevor's fault because, I mean, he had the one interception, but after that, the game was should have been well in hand. And he didn't make a back-breaking mistake that cost us the game. Like, he didn't throw an end zone interception where we could have had 7 and ended up with 0. And yeah, he threw an interception. I think the Texans got a field goal, and that took 3 points that could have been ours and gave it to them, which ended up being the difference in this game. So that ended up being a mistake. But it seemed like it was over once we went up 29-10, because then he led us on another touchdown drive. And it's just, what do you do at this point? Like, how does Liam Cohen fix it? Because if we win that game, and to me, it's amazing how quickly the narrative shifts. Because I think also the score, 36-29. If this is a back and forth brawling affair where somehow Trevor and Davis Mills are dueling each other, then the score looks very different. And I think we feel better about it, right? We feel better than choking, because choking is what bad teams do. That's what happened to the Giants when the Broncos were up 33-0. You never want to choke when you have a win in hand. It's so much worse than just going back and forth. I would have easily taken the loss and then us going back and forth because the vibes would be so different. But if we have a chance to sweep a team that, for all intents and purposes, like I said, he knocked out our quarterback last year. Go do it. Go do it. And you had it in hand. And just the litany of penalties. Because even on the very last plays of the game, we were in position. Parker Washington had just caught a pass 2 feet down in bounds and then went out of bounds, stopped the clock. We had a chance to pick up. We still had our timeout. We had a chance to pick up like 10, maybe 5 to 10 yards and give Cam Little a 55-yarder that would have won it. And then a stupid hands to the face penalty ruined it. Chuba Adoga put his hands on the guy's face. It's like, these stupid penalties is not what professional football teams do. It just feels like we can't have nice things. Like, as Jaguars fans, like, that's what, we can't have nice things. No, you don't deserve to have the season sweep of the Texans. You don't deserve to be competitive in the AFC. It just feels like you don't deserve it, and it's being ripped away from us. Like, you got the win over the Chiefs. That was nice. You beat the 49ers. That was nice. Yeah, but you can't have nice things. You're not allowed to. We need to keep you guys down. And it's so tiring. So tired. I'm exhausted. I don't know if there are any other Jags. I mean, I know there are Jags fans out there who are exhausted. But it's like, I'm so tired of being so close to greatness and having it ripped away and feeling like someone is saying, like, no, you can't have that. You don't deserve that. And that's the way it feels right now. And it's mainly because we choked that lead. If it was a back and forth affair, I think most of us, I picked us to lose this game before the season, right? When I thought the Texans were going to be good in competing for the AFC crown. I picked us to lose this. I picked us to be 4-5 at this point in the season. And we're 5-4. So we're doing better than I even thought we would. Probably better than most people thought we would. Anytime they see the Jaguars start to wilt or choke or anything, everyone immediately goes to same old Jags. And it's like, that's why we have to be better than just good. You know, like, we can't just be a good team. We literally can't suck, if that makes sense. Like, we can't be bad, because as soon as we do something that's bad, we are the same old Jags, and we can't get any respect. Like, the game, and again, like when we got blown out by the Rams, same old Jags. Choking a 19-point lead, same old Jags. Losing to the Bengals backup, same old Jags. And they ignore all the feats that we've done. Beating the 49ers at home. Well, Nick Bosa was out. You know, Ricky Pearsall went out for that game. Beating the Chiefs at home. Patrick Mahomes, who's undefeated against us. Oh, they didn't have Rashee Rice. Oh, that was a lucky win. Devin Lloyd got the interception. But when it comes to our losses, it's like, oh, yeah, you guys didn't have your starting tight end, Brenton Strange. You didn't have your top 2 wide receivers against the Texans. You didn't have your top cornerbacks against the Texans because Travis Hunter and Jordan Lewis were out. And the narrative is, well, that's your fault for picking Travis Hunter. And you guys still suck, so that's why you lost to the Texans. Like, the narrative is always positioned against the Jags. Like, I would say the national media wants us to suck. And they're happy when they do because they feel like that's normal. And we're tired of it. Now, we still have a winning record, right? And again, we outlasted the Raiders, but a win is a win. And against the Texans team, we couldn't outlast it and hold on and just win. And you could argue that the defense, to me, I think the most disappointing part is that partly it's in decision making, right? Because again, if you draft Xavier Watts over Caleb Branshaw, well, now our secondary is probably playing a lot better, right? Because he's available. And again, Caleb Branshaw was not a guy who was there in most pundits. And it's hard for me to imagine that we wouldn't have had at least one more stop if Xavier Watts was in there playing next to Wingard, with Eric Murray being out and Jordan Lewis being out. And Jerry and Jones made some nice plays in our secondary. But I think the group that should feel the most disgusted by this performance is our defensive line. Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen. Josh Allen makes more than anybody will ever see in their lifetime. And I think he had half a sack against a rookie tackle and backup left guards. You should be abusing him at $30 million a year. Trayvon Walker, number 1 overall pick. So many people are watching him try to run at Davis Mills and are like, wow, don't you wish you had Aiden Hutchinson? Now, again, I agree that they were probably tired, right? The defense was probably tired. But at some point, after we went 29-10, and we had a very long drive and scored, the defense came back on the field. And the defense allowed them to score a touchdown to make it 29-18 at some point. The defense wasn't tired for that drive. They were fine. And they couldn't keep them out of the end zone. They couldn't keep Davis Mills out of the end zone. Dalton Schultz beat them repeatedly on that drive. That was the drive to me that's like, and you could argue that us not going for 2, that us going for 2 is what flipped the momentum, right? Because everything was working for us until that play didn't work. And on one hand, I get the logic of like, oh, you got to go for 2 because now it'll be, instead of 29-10, instead of 19-point lead, it'll be a 21-point lead, which means they got to score 3 touchdowns and kick extra points in order to tie it. But that's not how, like, the analytics is not how momentum works. Because even in that situation, all they have to do is get 1 2-point conversion to win. So if they're able to go and get those 3 touchdowns, like if you're scared of them getting 3 touchdowns, right? If they get 3 touchdowns and kick an extra point and we still haven't scored, I don't think the Texans are going down the field going like, dang, I wish the Jaguars hadn't made that 2-point conversion because otherwise we'd be able to, kick this extra point and win. You see what I mean? Like if the Texans are able to score, they would be able to get the 2-point conversion too if they were able to run off. And that's exactly what they did. They went down, got a touchdown, and got the 2-point conversion without breaking a sweat. And then they tried to go for it again and they didn't get it. But it's like, so like if you kick the extra point, like I feel like that 2-point, not getting that 2-point, making it an 18-point game, made the Texans feel like we're still in this. And if you give a team something that makes them feel like we're still in this, they're going to go for it. Now, again, if you're Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence, like if you're going to make that decision, you got to have a play that's going to work every single time. And of course, hindsight is 2020. If we win that game, no one's criticizing that decision. But we didn't. So we are. Right? Like that's so we are. And like a 3-score, because you can kick, if you get a touchdown and then an extra point, that's 8 points. So it's not a 2-score. If you have a 16-point lead, that's a 2-score game. If you have a 17-point lead, that's now a 3-score game because no matter what, you need at least 3 possessions in order to win the game. So a 18-point game is still a 3-possession. A 20-point lead, 18-point lead is still 3 possession. 19-point lead, still 3 possessions. 20-point lead, still 3 possessions. 21-point lead is still a 3-possession game. Now, there's a difference between needing a touchdown and a field goal, right? Once you get to 21, now you're needing a touchdown and a field goal. But even if once you get to 21, you're needing 3 touchdowns. If we had a 20-point lead, even if they had gotten 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions, they still would have needed another touchdown instead of just a field goal. But at 19, you only would have needed 2 touchdowns, 2 2-point conversions, and a field goal to stay in the game. So just on that logic alone, you kick the extra point. And that's a loss that's going to haunt us probably more than the Bengals game one will, because the Bengals don't look like they'll be competing for the playoffs. Now the Texans will be fighting with them for that last spot, and we could have had the tiebreaker to just knock them out, and we won't. So now this game against the Chargers is crucial. And like Josh Allen, like if you can't get, and he's getting chipped and stuff, and Trayvon Walker is the number 1 overall pick, and he's been playing with the club. You could argue he's out there on the field for whatever reason. But it's like, if you can't beat up on this Chargers offensive line, like you could argue maybe the Texans being at home, when you're at home and you have momentum, it also changes everything, right? And we've seen it because we've done it. We did it against the Ravens in 2022. We did it against the Cowboys in 2022. And we did it against the Chargers. So we get the home field momentum and how hard it is to switch that around. So the Chargers are coming to our home. And if Josh Allen isn't able to beat up on that offensive line, what are you doing? And a lot of people are questioning Trevor Lawrence. We continue to question him. We continue to question him. At this point, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, because we're married to him. There's no getting rid of him for the next 2 or 3 years. The cap hit, if he plays poor enough to warrant being a starter, no one's going to take on the contract. And if he plays well enough to where we don't need to trade him, well, then there's no discussion. So we're stuck. I was on the table that we paid him too early. I think if Lamar Jackson can wait 5 years, so can Trevor. But we paid him too early. And I don't even think Trevor is the kind of guy to hold out. I think would be the guy to work on it. But that's the reality that we're living in. It's the reality that we're living in. So we got to go out and win games. And again, our schedule looks so different. Our losses look so much better if we win this game. Because you look at our losses, it's like, okay, fluky win. Every team in the league has a fluky loss somewhere because the parity this year is insane. It's insane, right? The Eagles lost to the Broncos, the Broncos have been a pretty good team. They're still 8-2 with a winning record. But the Eagles lost. Okay, the Eagles lost to the Giants, right? That's a fluky loss. The Buccaneers lost to the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots are good, but everyone kind of expected the Buccaneers to be able to cruise with that one. The Seahawks lost to the 49ers, who were beat up. Like, there are fluky losses all throughout. And even this week, the Bills just lost to the Dolphins after losing, and the Bills lost to the Falcons. And the Falcons lost to the Dolphins. And the Falcons beat the Bills. There are fluky losses everywhere, right? Bengals lose to the Jets. And then the Browns lose to the Jets. But the Packers lost to the Browns. And the Packers then lost to the Panthers. But then the Panthers just lost to the Saints. So the Bengals game, you could say, is a fluky loss. Every single team has one. Even if you argue that the Chiefs' loss to us was their fluky loss. Whatever. Every team has one. And then we lose to 2 Super Bowl contenders. The more the year goes on, the more the less bad those losses look, right? Because like the Seahawks and Rams, if you put them right now, I think they're the best teams in the NFC. And if you put either one of them in the AFC, I think they're easily the best team in the AFC. Easily. I think the Rams and the Seahawks are better than any other team in the AFC, including the Bills, including the Chiefs, including the Ravens who are trying to come back from the dead, including the Broncos. They're better than any team in the AFC. And you could argue the Eagles, maybe the Lions are also all better than any team in the AFC. The AFC is so much parity right now, it's crazy. But if we go beat the Texans, we're 6-3, and everybody that's doubting us all season because they saw us barely beat the Raiders and stave off 4-4, but we did. We beat them, and every single loss looks way better because it's like, oh well, okay, you lost to 2 Super Bowl contenders. We're not Super Bowl contenders. We want to get there. Trevor Lawrence needs to be the guy to get us there, but we're not Super Bowl contenders, and it looks way better. But we're not. And it's just that simple. It's just that simple. We're not there. And now that Texans loss doesn't look like a fluky loss because it looks like it looks like a bad team being exposed. That's what it looks like because Davis Mills is a backup quarterback. Maybe if CJ Stroud was playing, but Davis Mills is now 3-1 against us. And like Trevor Lawrence, you look at your resume, right? You're undefeated against Justin Herbert. You've defeated Josh Allen twice. You've taken down Patrick Mahomes now. You beat Lamar Jackson. But Davis Mills, you have a losing record against Davis Mills? Like, I don't know how that doesn't keep Trevor up at night. And I don't know how that doesn't make him, like, I don't know. Like, I like his personality as a person. I think he's a fantastic person. But I don't know if he has that competitive excellence or desire to just be upset or be at the top of his game. You know what I mean? Like, it should make you physically angry that there's a backup quarterback with a winning record against you. Like, that should keep you up at night. You're the number 1 overall pick, and a backup quarterback making a 0.1 fraction of what you're making has a better record. 0.1 fraction is probably a gross exaggeration, but he's making significantly less money. That should like bother you to your core and make you want to go out and just dominate. And I fear that he doesn't have that dominating will. Like when things are going well, it's great. I don't know how to read him because it's like he's been able to come back from adversity. But it feels like whenever we're on top of the world and stuff starts snowballing, we can't stop it from happening. And we end up back in the loss column. So we got to beat the Chargers. There's no other option. And I had us losing to the Chargers before the season started. And I mean, technically, if we lose to the Chargers, our record will still be better than I predicted this year. But the Colts are much better. And we got to stop falling for these trap games. And again, how good would it have felt to sweep the Texans? Now, we have to go beat the Chargers. Beating the Chargers is more important than beating the Cardinals. And if we can't take advantage of that offensive line, there's something seriously wrong with Trevor Walker or Josh Allen. Like Josh Allen, if you can't break the sack record, get 3 sacks coming home, you don't deserve the $30 million because you're playing against a bunch of backups. And I think we're right. Defensively, we need to get back to what we did that was working under Anthony Campanelli because we were bringing blitz and then guys were getting eviscerated in man coverage. And Devin Lloyd is a great blitzer, but he's also way better in coverage than Foye Oluokun is. So I would rather you send a slightly slower guy into the blitz so that way Devin Lloyd can cover Dalton Schultz, who caught a critical 3rd down pass to keep this game in the Texans' favor. I don't want to see Foye in coverage. I want to see Devin Lloyd in coverage. So if we're going to beat the Chargers, we got to run those stunts, and we got to do what we did to force the Patrick Mahomes interception. Almost every interception, we've overloaded the line. You don't know who's going to blitz and who's what because we can't get home with 4 guys. So we got to make it more exotic, right? Because our pass rushers aren't winning. And so, my thought process is, if you start the game out like that where they can't tell who's blitzing, and then you send the guys and drop them back into coverage, that's what forces mistakes because then guys are there where you're not expecting them to be. And that forces the offensive line to be like, who do I pick up? There's 7 guys on the line and only 5 of us. And then 2 guys pick up the same guy. 1 guy misses a guy and then someone else slips through. That's how you get those sacks. If we're able to do that and rattle Justin Herbert, eventually the offensive line will be so rattled that we'll be able to get home with 4 and just use a base personnel. But until then, yeah, that's what we got to do. Override the line, and you don't know who's coming in the blitz package. And I think the key for our offense is, it's like I don't want to write off Trevor Lawrence because of one guy, but clearly he misses Brenton Strange because Brenton Strange set the tone in the run game and the passing game. And he's more important to our offense than Travis Hunter is, right? And again, how much better does that if we win and hold on 29-10, if our defense just holds on, maybe gets one more turnover at the end of the game when they were pressing and you had the Texans exactly where you wanted them to be trying to press and make a play. How much better does that look than Trevor was playing without his top 2 receivers, his top tight end, his 3 top targets of the year, and offensive linemen that keep going in and out? Now Trevor can quiet a lot of critics. He's like, look what I did without my top guys. Wait till they come back. If Brenton Strange doesn't come back against the Chargers, I don't think we can pull this off. If he does, I think we can neutralize them with a punishing ground game. And most Jaguars fans don't want to see a punishing ground game. They want to see Trevor Lawrence fireworks. That's why you pay him $55 million. You don't pay him $55 million to hand the ball off. That's for sure. But we need a punishing ground game that's going to open up the pass game. And Jacoby Myers was a great pickup. I think we'll see some more of him. And again, to me, the part that's driving me insane is that he didn't lose this Texans game. He just didn't do enough to win. When the ball was in his hand and it was like, Trevor, go get us a victory. Go do it. Go silence this crowd. Go stop this momentum. He couldn't do it. And, maybe we went conservative with play calling or something. I don't know. But a quarterback that sees one of the elite quarterbacks in the league that sees, oh, wow, our lead just cut to 11 because the Texans just marched down the field and got an 8-play drive. Not 8-play drive, but just marched down the field and got a touchdown. One of those elite quarterbacks, he airs it out. He's like, I need to shut them up. Puts the ball in the air and gets the team to a victory. And what is it with guys just going in the dirt as soon as they got paid? I pounded the table for Walker Little. I loved him draft coming out. I said we should draft him. We picked him up. I said he should be starting over Cam Robinson. We don't need Cam Robinson. He finally gets to start, plays super well, holds up. He holds up when Cam Robinson went down. He gets paid. This year, he's a pumpkin. It's like we have a turnstile out there. He's given up so many sacks. And I'm like, I don't understand what happened from last year to this year. You got the bag, and did you not keep up with your routine? You're not that old. There are plenty of tackles on their 3rd, 4th, 5th contract. He was only drafted in the same class as Trevor. And he's just a turnstile. And we have to think about replacing him. I don't know if Makari would play better, but just everybody was. Again, the Texans have the number 1 defense in the NFL for good reason. And their defense is keeping them in games, right? If you can get off the field so their defense, they did what we were supposed to do to their defense. And that was complimentary football, right? Because we had that long drive to tire out their defense, and we scored 29-10. Demoralizing, right? Our defense is nice and rested. But then their offense says, you know what, defense? I got you. And they do a long drive that tires out our defense. And their defense gets nice and rested, and they say, all right, offense, we're going to do this. They get on the field, they force a 3 and out. Now our defense, still trying to catch their breath, is tired, gets drove on again. And then their defense, rested, they force another 3 and out. That's complimentary football. And, our defense should have been able to get the stop and say, offense, go ahead and finish this out. Like, hey, offense, thanks for giving us a chance to rest. We'll go out there and make this play for you. But even after they gave it up, our offense should have been like, you know what, defense? Their defense is rested, but we're going to tire them out right here, and we're going to make sure we get the win. That was complimentary football. The Texans did what we were supposed to do. And now we're just left here wondering where we go next. Get back to what was getting us wins And again, it's like I hate to say I refuse to give up on Trevor, but it's like so many flashes, and at some point you got to put it all together. So many great catches that have led us to victory this year. And yeah, we got blown out by the Rams, but like the losses this year, I feel like aren't as bad as they were last year. And what was it, 52-6? Now Mac Jones was playing against the Lions, but still, you got to go beat the Chargers right now. Trevor Lawrence is undefeated against the Chargers. He's got to keep that going. Chargers are 6-3. If we, oh no, they're 7-3. If we beat them, they would go to 7-4, and we would go to 6-4. So then, when they go on their bye week, we would be tied with them, but we would have the tiebreaker when it comes to the last playoff seed. Because for the Jaguars, like, and again, my thing is like everyone in the media is eviscerating the Jaguars for being bad, for losing this game. We're the number 7 seed in the NFL in the AFC, and they're eviscerating us and saying that we're going to fall out and they don't trust us in the playoffs. We weren't even supposed to make the playoffs this year. And if we make the playoffs, no matter what, it will be a win because that means the Travis Hunter pick goes lower. And it's like, someone brought it up to me. I think sometimes it's just expectation. When Trevor has expectations on him, he crumbles. When he doesn't, he plays well. No one expected us to beat the Chiefs. We won. No one expected us to beat the 49ers. We won. People expected us to be competitive against the Seahawks. We didn't really know if the Seahawks were Super Bowl contenders yet. We lost. I don't know what the expectations were against the Rams. I think that was just a superior team. But the expectations was to put the Texans to bed. It was like, I don't care about any injuries that you guys are both dealing with. We have our starting quarterback. You don't. Jaguars should win. That's all that means. And we knew it was going to be tough, but the expectation was there. And he lived up to it until the expectation became, all right, close out this game and get the win. And our entire team as a whole couldn't do it. Again, I can't just put this loss on Trevor. Because I don't, like, if our defense goes out there, here's why people put it out on Trevor, right? After your defense gives up that long drive and the score is now 29-18, you put in Patrick Mahomes, you put in Lamar Jackson, you put in Josh Allen, even though Josh Allen the Bills did just kind of funk it up against the Dolphins. But if you put in any one of those guys, elite guys getting elite money, even Dak Prescott, do you think they're not going to get their offense down the field and eat at least 3-4 minutes of clock and maybe even get a field goal out of it? Any of those elite guys, you put them on the field, you think they're not going to be able to? That was the problem. Because Trevor's getting paid like one of those guys. Once you sign that contract and dot that say, yeah, I'm a $55 million quarterback, you're going to be compared to those guys. And everyone feels like those guys would have went down and gone and got it. Justin Herbert. Drake May, second-year player making pennies on the dollar compared to what he makes. And I hate to say the contract definitely complicates things, but it does. That's what money does. You know, the contracts are public. Everyone can see it. We went from Blake Bortles at $18 million to Trevor Lawrence at $55 million. 3 times as much in about, 3 or 4 years. Blake Bortles has more playoff wins in a shorter period of time. We got to get it figured out. That's all there is to it. Now, again, Trevor has right now 2 winning seasons and 2 losing seasons under his belt. He's in year 5. 21 losing season, 22, 23 winning season, 24 losing season. And that just screams middle of the pack. I agree that we paid him too early. And it's like, Sam Darnold's making $20 million less than you a year, and he's currently the MVP. It's just, and I don't know what else. And again, to me, like all the things that happened to us with our star guys not being able to catch, our kicker not going through a slump of kicking for a while, all of that is just like the Jaguars can't have nice things. It feels like the franchise is just cursed. Because then, and we're stuck in this perennial loop where it's like we have to overpay to get guys to do a second contract here or to stay with us or to come over in free agency. Because people consider us a poverty franchise. So we got to overpay to bring guys in, pay them more than what they're worth. Eric Armstead only came here because we offered him $17 million. Christian Kirk only came here because we offered him that. They come, they play, and they're not as good as their cap number suggests. And that hamstrings us from bringing in potentially better players, because better players would cost even more. And even when we sign our guys to second-year contracts, once Brian Burns got $30 million, Josh Allen, he was getting $30 million. And then the problem is, if we don't pay our guys and just let them go, they end up signing somewhere else and doing fantastic, and we get nothing from it. Quincy Williams, Josh Oliver, Andre Sisco's not doing anything. But you get the idea. Allen Robinson when he left. So many guys, even what's that one defensive tackle? J. Tufele become a part of the Bengals rotation. They go off and they just do great things in other franchises. And it's so disheartening to see. And it's just one of those cycles. It's like, can we ever break it? Because people look at our roster and they're like, why do you have so many guys that are paid so heavily? It's like, well, they wouldn't come to Jacksonville or stay in Jacksonville if we didn't pay them this money. That's part of being one of these in a franchise with low media, low market teams means. But Trevor Lawrence is the guy that's supposed to change all that, because in the draft, every player comes out and every player has to play his butt off if he wants to make it a spot on another team or on the team he's on. So that's my rant. Let me know your thoughts. Will the Jaguars get over this? And never forget, it was always the Jags. Thank you so much for watching Always the Jags. Make sure you like and subscribe down below. Check out some of these other videos that I'm sure you'll be interested in as we chase Duval greatness. Thank you for joining us again, and until next time.